This is probably one of the most common areas that's overlooked when it comes to your lower back pain, hip pain, or other little niggles in your body. Sometimes it's so easy to just go straight to the actual point of pain instead of taking a step back and say, hey, what's beneath or what's above? And once we start doing that, we can really start to troubleshoot a lot better and stop wasting time. So this area is our pelvis, and our pelvis often might be a little bit tight or might not be able to expand as well as we'd like. And this actually is a measurement of strength. Sometimes, or often in the fitness industry, the tighter the muscle area looks or feels, we associate that as a good thing. But in actuality, a muscle that is stuck like this all the time is not great. We want our muscles to be able to move in full ranges of motion. And that is exactly what could be happening to our hips. They could be stuck in a tight state. So we need to think about opening them up, but not so much with the usual typical hip stretches that you might have seen. We need to do more expansion exercises that impact how we move in space and how when we squat or lunge, we start to feel a lot more open. And that is those muscles actually getting stronger. But before we dive into all the fun exercises, we need to just drop it down to a much more simpler approach. And in this training, I'm going to just do something that seems so simple, but don't overlook it. We're just gonna start sitting down on a stool, a chair, a bench, whatever you have, and we're going to do a few exercises or techniques to improve your awareness and discover if there's any areas that are a bit blocked. So grab something to sit on, make sure it's not too soft, because if it's too soft, it might impact your sensation. And maybe grab a towel or a massage ball and keep that nearby just in case. We're going to do what looks really simple, but something very deep and meaningful for your whole body, because, well, we all have to sit down from time to time. And how we sit can make a really big change. And I'm gonna dive a lot deeper into this now. So when it comes to our pelvis, one of the most beneficial things we can start to do is to imagine our pelvis like a clock. So this is why I'm also going to be just sitting on the side as I walk you through this. So just grab something that's comfortable to sit on, but not too comfortable, because you want to actually feel your bones and just be a little bit more present with this area. And if you're on something maybe that's really soft, you might lose that connection. So from here, I'm going to get you to just hold your hips and just try to see if you can tilt your pelvis forward and tilt your pelvis back. Notice the change you feel in your body and how it also just impacts your whole posture up all the way to your head. So in this exercise, like thinking your pelvis is a clock, I want you to think that the front is 12 o'clock and the back is 6 o'clock. And I really want you to think about your deep muscles here. And I also want you to imagine the bony bits, if you like, if you go side to side, that you might be able to feel. Imagine that's like 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock here. So oftentimes what happens is we might have a little bit of tension at 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock or somewhere around those lines. So it's really helpful to sometimes just use a massage ball and release around there to just improve that sensation. And overall, it has a really profound effect on your body. But from a sitting perspective, to avoid a lot of pain and to optimize our lower body strength, it's really important that we're aware when we are accidentally sitting on 6 o'clock. Can you see what happens? Can you see how my upper back just rounds like that? This is really not optimal for my lower back health, my pelvic health, my abdominals, pretty much everything. Because if you get stuck in this position and then you want to start exercising or work towards other things, and this is such a pattern that is stuck, it's going to give you a lot of hard time. So we want to avoid that. And what we can do is practice sitting a little bit more at 12 o'clock. And when we do that, we feel our inner lift. And I always love to say the flower pot analogy. So if you imagine that your pelvis is a pot, and the spine and the rest of your torso is a beautiful flower or a beautiful tree that you like, you want that tree or flower to be growing out nice and tall. And it's going to have a really hard time growing up nice and straight if the pot of the plant is crushed over like that. So just imagine that pot is nice and straight, lifted up, and then as a result of that, the flower blooms beautiful, which is of course your spine, your torso, your breath, everything. So Be mindful of that. And then while this might seem easy, but then the minute you walk away, you just forget it. Think about when you're sitting at the desk at work or at home for dinner, whatever it is, what are your feet doing? This is the first step to helping you weight bear better through your legs. So if you have a tendency to go back like that, I'm no longer having weight in my legs. So I need to think, sit like that. I feel that connection with my feet on the floor. My legs feel more present. You can almost imagine this is like the stepping stone to a squat. So you come up to standing, you drop down to a squat, right? So this is like halfway there. You want to at least work towards making this possible and feel really natural. And then of course you can progress to going lower while keeping your pelvis in a nice, happy position. But one step at a time. If we are struggling to sit like this, we need to work on this. This is an exercise. Even though it seems small, even though it feels maybe a little bit uncomfortable, remind yourself, these muscles maybe back here are gonna be aching because they're used to this. This is a job. They're not used to this. So if by any chance you feel pain in maybe one side of your back more than the other side of your back, and that's why you want to just go back to this position, I'm gonna give you an amazing hack that will help with this. And that is, you're going to notice maybe on the right side or left side that wherever you're feeling tension in the back, that's probably the area of your sit bone or pelvic area that you need to massage. So you're gonna grab a release ball and you're just going to put pressure, massage, and try to see if you can find a spot. If for any reason it's just not working out for you after you've done maybe a minute or so massage, retest, no difference, take your hand and just place it underneath this part. And then breathe in and see if you can feel the breath move down there. And also importantly, when you breathe in, you feel it expand 360 degrees here. And then on the exhale, you feel your rib cage get smaller. If you're exhaling and you're feeling your stomach sticking out, that's not what we want to aim for. So we want to focus on breathing in through the nose, exhale for the rib cage get a bit smaller, or you feel the pressure in here change. So if that's struggling for you, you can do a exhale with your mouth. And that sometimes just gives you a kickstart in the direction that you need to go into. And then over time, you can just go to relaxing nasal breathing, breathing in and out through the nose. But otherwise, just remember that as like a top tip. And then move your hand and notice if you can connect with that area, whether it was the right or left that you needed to put your hand under. Notice if it feels better. Maybe you feel a lot more sensation to that area. And if so, congratulations. And then this is gonna become a lot easier for you to be able to stand up tall and then progress with squats and other functional movements that you want to be working towards. But do not underestimate the power of this. Do not think, I'm just going to skip this and just go straight to the heavy lifting or straight to intense full body workout. You want to be able to have the ability to be able to sit in a nice lifted weight effortlessly. So I'd love to know if this was helpful or if anything really stood out to you. Feel free to drop that down below in the comments. It would make my day. And also if maybe it didn't work out for you, let me know too, because then I can share something else in my next upcoming video that you can try and implement. And of course, if you feel like nothing is ever working for you, you've been on this journey for a long time and you're not getting anywhere, you're not making the results you know you need, or you need that accountability and support, what I do, I help my clients one-to-one, and I also have amazing programs that get them great results and reconnect with their whole body. So you can find out more about my coaching down below in the links. That is for those who really are ready to take the next step. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next video, and thank you so much for being here.